who was the first the president of the school when we integrated with Jesse Turner in 1963. They're with these young brothers that are on retreat, but they're actually staying over at the Fogelman Center and talking about the history of the brothers in Memphis. So Brother Joel did not skip out. And you are his JV tonight. Those guys are his varsity, which I do appreciate. Does anybody not know that Fred's a Democrat from Chicago? But I'm going to skip his introduction. Because everybody knows Fred. Everybody knows he was a phenomenally good teacher. And well respected, even though probably most of our kids are Republican, or their families are Republican. And everybody says, we know he's left of center. But I think they always respected Fred's opinion because he's so knowledgeable. And that's one of the things I miss. I would go by his classroom in the morning and I say, what the heck's going on in Washington? And I would love to have it. But it was whether it was Democrat or Republican. And so, he's just a special person, a special friend, and still does the announcing for the games here. But, Fred's a graduate of St. Patrick's High School in 1966 with Brother Adrian, was your principal back then, and then has attended CBC, where he graduated in 1970 and earned his BA in history. But I'm going to skip the rest of this because we all know how good of a person he is. But I want to read an email that I got from a graduate, Jesse McCullough, whose family is here today. Jesse is a lobbyist, which I still like him. And he knows how to play all sides of the field up in Washington. He was with the beer or liquor industry for a while, and now he's with Nike. And Jesse is actually hosting our alumni event in a couple of weeks up at the Nike place up in Washington. And so he sent me an email the other day, reminding me, I'm from Cincinnati, he says, playing golf with Ken Griffey and President Obama next week. Yeah, right. Wow. Should be a great day. I'll tell Ken you say hello, and about getting the day off of school in 1990 when the Reds won the World Series, which was my first year as principal, and it's the last year the Reds have won the World Series. So make sure you tell Ken that. So anyway, but I want to read his. I think what he says probably embodies the way many of us feel about him. Not giving his family's here, of course, but the impact that he has had on the school, and he continues to come up here on occasion for different events and does all the announcing for the basketball games. But this is from Jesse. So there's no single person at CBHS, and very few people outside my family, for that matter, who had more of an impact on both the direction and the trajectory of my life than Fred Freres. I had so many of the legendary teachers at CBHS, and they all hold a special place in my heart and mind, but none more than him. It was Mr. Freres who validated a sense that there was something bigger out there for me, that changing my community, my country, the world for that matter, wasn't just for people I studied. It was there even for me, a kid whose parents were often working 2 jobs apiece just to send me to CBHS. On a visit many years ago when I was thanking him for all his help and interest he'd shown me, he said in the classic Chicago accent of his, "Jess, you and all the kids I've taught pay me back by what you go on and do in your careers, but mostly by paying it forward." I got my first paid job in politics 2 months after I graduated from high school in 1994. And while time does go by in between our visits, longer than I would like these days for sure, the torch he passed to me still burns. It burned during every campaign I won and lost. It burned while working every second job I took, working nights to chase a dream. Every time I helped pass laws to clothe the poor, feed the hungry, and fought for justice. And even today, as I advance my career in the private sector, the torch still burns to inspire others to become active citizens and public servants. So while I may never be able to repay him, I pray that my life's work will continue to honor him for years to come. My success is certainly his success. Pray.
quite a show off. I've got plenty of children. Thank you all. I really appreciate that, brother. I not only want to thank brother for those words, but also for his leadership. Since 1990, he's done a great job in managing Christian Brothers. He was a great person to work for. He's just done a fantastic job keeping Christian Brothers as one of the top schools in the greater Memphis area. And I thank you, brother, for your leadership. If I had known we were going to sit at a podium, they weren't here last year on a podium, I would have brought the entire speech. Instead, I've got notes, so I may stumble a bit, I'm afraid, but what the heck. I also want to thank Janet Hill and John Morris for putting this thing together, and I really want to thank everybody who's come out tonight. I appreciate it. I can feel the love, and you know, I love you back. This school means so much to me. It's like a second home. Although I'm skipping in my speech, that it's like a second home to me. It's always been a place that I felt I really belonged. And before I get into the body of what I want to say, I want to introduce my family. When I go out for dinner, it's me and 6 lovely ladies. Katie, Julie, and Annie in that order. And then, Haley and Clara, my 2 grandchildren. Haley came in from St. Louis, where she now lives, and she's going for her graduate degree. Katie, of course, is living her dad's life in a flat that's on the 3rd floor, walk up on the north side of Chicago.
That's right.
She doesn't have to put up as much with the heat in the summertime. Of course, we visit and get up there all the time. But I want to reiterate as I was going back, and Steve, thank you for such a great speech, and I want to congratulate Steve and Mark and Tom for being honored and the good work that all 3 of you have done with your lives too as Lasallians. We appreciate, and that's the thing I'm most proud of. The school has so many leaders in this community. Where would Memphis be without Christian Brothers High School? Personally, my lawyer, my dentist, my financial director, they're all Christian Brothers graduates. The deck that I had built in the back of my house was a Christian Brothers graduate. I asked him first if he liked my class before I let him go. He said, "That's all glad." But Christian Brothers has been it is my second home. I love this school. I love the brothers. I've been a brother's boy since I was 14. I don't know why my parents chose St. Patrick's High School to send me to. I really don't. Because there were at least a half dozen good Catholic boys' schools in the Chicago Northwest side. And many of my friends from Our Lady of Victory went to all individual schools. I think there were maybe 3 or 4 from my school. But that decision to send me there really had an effect on the rest of my life. The brothers have always been a part of it since that time. I want to introduce the one gentleman at the table. We feel like he's family, though. Brother Armin Alcazar, who just retired himself a short time ago, and was a distinguished professor at a couple of the Christian Brothers colleges, and also spent a few years here on our staff, which I've loved in the 70s. So most of you know him, but Brother and I go back to formation in the Christian Brothers. After we graduated high school in '66, he went to St. Mel's, and I to St. Pat's. The brothers had like 5 or 6 high schools up in Chicago at the time. And there were only 2 Jesuit high schools. But Armin and I were in formation, and in February of that next year, we started formation at Lewis College, just south of Chicago, and then we went on to Glencoe, which is just outside of St. Louis, and for novitiate, got my robe and stuff. I really thought I had a vocation. I know that the teachers that I had, and the brothers especially in high school, by the time I was a junior in high school, I knew I wanted to teach. I knew I wanted to teach history for a different reason. I loved history, but it was the only class I could get an A in. And because I was a 2.5 GPA student, so Jay, you shouldn't feel too bad then, see, about your 2.7 or whatever. But I got A's in history, and so I loved history. And I'm glad I was a history teacher rather than, I might have liked biology, but I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to do good. And I wanted to be a doctor until I had biology and I got a D in it. And I figured, forget that. Prior to that, I wanted to be a baseball player, but then when I couldn't hit a curveball and Babe Ruth League at age 14, I knew that wasn't in the cards either. So it became teaching, and that became my passion. And I'm glad that decision was made. But so much of it centers around the Christian brothers and what they have meant to me. This high school, as I was saying at the beginning, which was the beginning of my regular speech, this school is like a second home to me. I often still visit here. I was called to substitute from time to time when I first retired. And I've been retired since 2011, so it's almost 7 years now. But I haven't gotten a call in about 4. I really enjoyed those times. I even said I would do it for nothing. I'd be free. I guess you can't, it just, you lose it, after time you just lose the content. I am going to do the faculty basketball game versus the students.
Yeah.
On the 10th. And I really have enjoyed doing the basketball games here. It's kept me connected to the school, which has been very important to me. When I came here the first year, I was pretty great. I got onto campus. I graduated in December of 70 from CBC. And I came here to Memphis. And as far as the brothers affecting my life, not only did they educate me, but I also met my wife through the brothers. Because she was a young lady from Siena College, taught by the Dominicans, who we were started school in 1967 as well. The first thing they did that year was to have a street dance. And we met at that street dance. She rightfully thought I was a loud and obnoxious Yankee. I thought she was a sweet but quiet little Southern girl. I bragged to my friends back home, we were all about, we didn't know, in Chicago we thought the South was like Gone with the Wind. That was basically our understanding of the South. And so it was like, I'm going to, within a month, guys, I'm going to be sipping a mint julep under a magnolia tree, hugging a sweet little Southern belle. I did find out I didn't like mint julep, and magnolia tree I couldn't find it, but I did find my Southern belle. She is the love of my life and the greatest blessing I've ever had. She is one of two living saints that I know. Everybody else in here knows who the other one is, right? Joe. Brother Joe. So she is the sweetest thing. She's been the greatest blessing in my life. But the brothers and this school have been a great blessing in my life. I felt a passion for what I did. I loved every minute of it. And I like when you hear people that talk about service. And I've continued to do that through my church. And I love St. Louis Church. It's one of the ways I stay connected to my former students, because about half, I think, of the alumni go to St. Louis Church. And so it's been a very pleasurable thing in that way, too, to keep connected. But through the church, I've been able to continue to do service work, but also stay connected to Christian brothers. And as far as teaching goes, I'm so glad. I think God chose this place for me, and it has made my life a loving thing. I have contact with students. I keep contact with students on Facebook, which Joe Baker introduced me to. He said, Fred, he retired a year before I did. He said, Fred, you've got to get on Facebook. Okay, well, whatever, I guess, but you got to get on Facebook. And I said, okay, I will. And I'm glad I did, because we carry on discussion. And like I did in class, I wanted my students to feel that that history and government, the two subjects I taught the most, was the most important thing they were going to be studying. You know, mathematics and all the other things, not all of them were going to be mathematicians, not all of them were going to be scientists, not all of them were going to be businessmen. Some might be English professors, but not just a handful. But all of them would be American citizens.
That's right.
And it was important for them to learn what their government was all about, what the history of our country had been about. And you know, one of the highlights of my career was being able to, and this goes back to the brothers giving me a free hand, being able to introduce a class, United States history, 1945 to the present. So we could examine things that normally weren't covered in normal history classes, where you never made it. We were making it beyond World War II, just like when I was in school, even in the 1980s in the regular survey course of U.S. history. So it was that. And I wanted to my students to believe that was important and passionate. And I was passionate about it. And I encouraged them to engage in class discussions. I gave a credit or a grade for class participation. But I insisted that they do so in a civil way to each other, that they respect each other and the rights of their opinions for everybody to have an opinion, and that they can learn from each other as well. So civil discord is such an important thing and something that we aren't really doing very well with anymore in our society, including on Facebook and other agendas there. The extracurriculars that I did helped me establish even a closer relationship with some of our students. Key Club, which Steve was a part of, the requirement for Key Club was community service long before that was a requirement for the school and for our graduates. And we did community service around the city and also within the school itself, serving as ushers. I never had to do a graduation ceremony after I became Key Club moderator in 1977. And that was only because Hugh Higginbotham had left the school and gone to be principal at St. Anne Highland. I just visited Hugh last Friday. And for those of you who remember Hugh, and I'm sure a lot of you do, he's doing well. He's at Ave Maria. We talked a lot about school and this school. Everybody that you meet, and everybody I meet, the graduates and stuff, and I know I'm going off purpose here, but I'm sorry. But everybody I meet, graduates, former teachers and everything, I mean, this is the one center of their love. It's amazing how much the alumni identify with this school. And, you know, it goes back to the job Ken does, and Brother Chris, I'd love to join you for that trip to Washington, D.C. You know, would like to see Jesse. Okay, would you book me a flight? But anyways, as far as this was a gift from God. As far as I lived a life that I loved, and giving service to others and having an impact on thousands of people, young men, is the greatest gift that anybody can be given by God. And God led me this way. The brothers were the instrument that they used to allow me to have the career that I've had. And I would have it no other way. I am assured, I'm so sure that Christian Brothers will continue to prosper. And that as long as they're teaching the values, the Lasallian values that we all cherish, and we didn't do it, you know, those things have only become really public in the last 30 years or so. There wasn't something that was done, that we knew about De La Salle when I was in high school and college, but it's not something that was really talked about. The brothers may have led their lives that way, but we really didn't know about it. The lay faculty were brought in later, as I was at Butterbur and stuff, and that was important to know about the Lasallian values. They're in direct principle with the Catholic Church and its teachings on social justice and other areas that the Lasallian values are. But I know this school will continue to prosper, and that the students who leave this school, if they use the Lasallian values as a guide for their life, they will be great and good men, and the world will be better for it. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
No. Thank you, Fred. And unfortunately, the pregnancies haven't been in the